Welcome to the Good Fight Radio Show, a program dedicated to bringing you vital and uncompromised truths that you won't hear in the mainstream media, discussing contemporary issues in light of the Bible and how these issues relate to family, culture, and the church. The heart of this show is to glorify Jesus Christ and expose the works of darkness as He is commanded in Ephesians 5:11. Now here's your host, Good Fight Ministries' own Chad Davidson.
Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of the Good Fight Radio Show. I'm really excited today because we are actually doing this interview today live, not live, but you'll hear it later. We are doing this interview today at the Apologetics Conference we're at right now, and we're so excited to be here because there are a ton of wonderful speakers put on by Ministry to Muslims. And I am so excited because right now I was told, considering that we have Jay Smith on the Good Fight Radio Network, but I was told by the founder of Ministry to Muslims, George Saig, that the man sitting beside me today is Jasvir Basi, is actually the Jay Smith to the Sikh religion. So I am excited for you guys to hear, because a lot of you guys, if you're sitting here, maybe you've never even heard of the Sikh religion. Maybe you have no idea what it is, and how would you know how to outreach to them if you don't know what it is? So with me today, as I said, my friend Jasvir Basi. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
My pleasure.
Well, praise God. I just want to know, I guess we could start off and kind of leave this open for you. Mm-hmm. What on earth is the Sikh religion?
Well, most people do not know what a Sikh is. In fact, a lot of pastors don't know what a Sikh is. And I was shocked when pastors don't even know what a Sikh is. They think, oh, are you talking about the sheikhs? No, not the Middle Eastern sheikhs. No, Sikhism is the fifth biggest religion now. It's overtaken Judaism. And it is monotheistic. You can recognize a Sikh. A staunch, initiated Sikh will not cut his hair. So they'll have a full beard and they'll be wearing a turban. And they're often mistaken for Muslims. In fact, after 9/11, a Sikh was killed in Phoenix, because they thought he was a Muslim. In fact, Sikhs are the arch enemies of the Muslims. And if it wasn't for the Sikhs, India probably would have been Muslim. The religion started in the 1500s. There's a lineage of successors of 10 gurus who founded the religion. It is monotheistic. Sikhs are very hardworking. They value service and serving very highly. They're very hospitable. They believe in worshipping God with devotional love, and the religion has a concept of grace in it. In their scriptures, the word grace occurs more times than even the Bible. Oh, wow. Each section or each page is invoking the grace of God. So when I asked one Sikh scholar at a conference one time, I said, who do you think is Jesus? He immediately replies, the grace of God. And I'm stunned. And I said, how did you come to that conclusion? And he told me that his PhD thesis was in that. So that is a very, very big common ground with us, except they don't know Jesus is the grace of God. So we have to reach them. The Sikh gurus, 10 of them, over a period of 200 years, formed and solidified the religion. One guru passed on guruship to the next guru, and then the 10th guru said, no more physical gurus. Our guru is going to be the scriptures. So the last and final guru is their scriptures, which they treat and venerate very highly. They treat it as a living person. As their living guru there to guide them. Their concept of God, like I said, is monotheistic. They do believe man has a problem. The problem is sin. And how do you overcome it? And basically, it is a work system. You do good works so that God can grant His grace to you. So it's a earned grace, basically. The other thing that sets Sikhs apart and why they're hardworking is because they did not accept the Hindu doctrine of becoming a recluse or an ascetic and giving up the world. Say, no, this is a battleground. The world is a battleground, and you have to fight injustice and intolerance, which is why the 10th Guru changed the Sikhs into a holy warrior caste called the Khalsa, which actually means the pure ones. The problem was, for 800 years, the Muslims had been invading India and converting Hindus by force. And this caused the biggest Holocaust in history of about 50 million Hindus. And then at the time of the Gurus, actually the time of the first Guru, the Muslims started invading India, and they actually conquered India, and then they stayed and ruled India. And they were forcibly converting the Hindus. And the 5th Guru was tortured by them because he was seen as a heretic, and he was killed or martyred. And that was when the Sikhs, the 6th Guru, decided, no, we need to arm ourselves. And he armed himself with 2 swords, one for temporal power, one for spiritual power. And when some Hindu asked him, why do you call yourself a guru and a holy person and you are now wearing swords? And he said, this sword is to defend the defenseless. And it is not for gaining any land or aggression. So even the word for the sword is not the normal word for sword. It is kirpan. If you take the N off, it actually means grace. So this is an instrument that's supposed to be used for the grace and in self-defense and not in aggression. So the 10th Guru finalized and made the Sikhs into a warrior caste, because when the Muslims executed his dad, who was the 9th Guru, because he wouldn't convert to Islam, the Muslims could not tell Hindus from Sikhs because they all had short hair. And he was 9, and he decided there and then that he would make his Sikhs recognizable in a crowd of 100,000. So he, that's why they don't cut their hair. They have a long beard, they wear a turban. You can't miss them. Because the Muslims taunted the Sikhs after they beheaded the 9th Guru, his dad, that is there any brave Sikh who's going to come forward and pick up the head? And apparently nobody did. But they did take the head afterwards. When it went dark, at night time, they did take it. And I think that's one reason why he decided that he was going to do this. And he said, I am going to make hawks out of sparrows. Because the Hindus, due to the influence of Buddhism, had become very passive. They wouldn't defend their families when the Muslims invaded and took away the women and looted. So he said, I'm going to change sparrows into hawks. And in 1699, he, around the springtime, harvest time, a big festival, hundreds of thousands of Sikhs gathered. And he comes on the stage and he says, is there any brave Sikh? I need the head of a brave Sikh. Who is going to give his head for the Guru? And they're stunned. Nobody goes. And then eventually one brave Sikh goes forward. And he takes him into the tent, flashing his sword, and comes back with a bloody sword. And he said, who else is going to give his head for the Guru? And again there was silence. And then another brave Sikh comes forward, takes him in the tent, and comes out with the same sword with more blood. He does this 5 times. And then he goes to the tent, and a few minutes later he comes out with all 5 of them, dressed in their new clothes with turbans, and he calls them the Khalsa, the pure ones. And apparently he had a goat in there that was killed, and the blood was the blood of a goat. But he wanted to test his Sikhs. He wanted to make them brave and fearless. And he then renamed them. Every Sikh is supposed to have a last name of lion, which means Singh means lion. So my name is Jasvir Basi. So this was to instill more confidence in them and to be brave, because they were going to fight the Muslims. And the women are named Kaur, which means princess, so your royalty. And he put the turban on the Sikhs because in the Islamic rulers, only their rulers wore turbans. And he said, each of my Sikh is a ruler. So, and eventually the Sikhs did defeat the Muslims, and Maharaja Ranjit Singh established the Sikh Empire, conquered Afghanistan as well, which only Alexander the Great conquered. Nobody else ever conquered Afghanistan. Even the Muslim writers, the historians, they just marveled at the bravery of the Sikhs. So if it wasn't for them, it's quite possible India would have been Muslim, and maybe they would have waved through to China and beyond. So just like the Christians woke up when the Muslims conquered Turkey, and then went as far as Austria, and then were defeated. So in India, it was the Sikhs who did the same thing. That sort of gives you a background. And they're very, very, very proud people because of that. The British loved them because they were fearless fighters. And in fact, they wanted to take their little prayer book with them in their satchels, the Sikh soldiers who fought for the British. And the British actually had a small, I think it's a 1-inch prayer book for them, printed in tiny print, so they could take them in their satchels. And there's one in the British Museum in London.
Wow. Now, so with all of that, I mean, like you said, they're very proud people, grace. I mean, obviously you're going to hopefully divulge a little bit of your testimony there, but how on earth do we start an open dialogue with them? What would be something that would be a way of conversation in order to open a gospel message to a Sikh that we want to talk with?
The best thing is to ask lots of questions. The mistake I made as well, when I started witnessing to my family and relatives, you don't go Bible bashing, you know? It's best for them to ask questions afterwards. You ask them questions about their religion. Well, you know, what does your religion teach about God? You know, tell me a little bit about your gurus. The foundational friendship evangelism is very, very important with Sikhs. You've got to establish that rapport first, and then ask lots of questions, and then pray and let the Holy Spirit lead you. I am writing a book. It hopefully will be published in the next few months. It's called The Light of the Satguru. Satguru means a true guru.
Oh, okay.
And the subtitle is Good News for Sikhs. So I will be presenting the gospel using their own scriptures parallel with the Bible.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yes.
So how did you come to faith then?
I came to faith by the hound of heaven chasing me. I went to England when I was 5, and I never cut my hair until then. And first thing my dad did was take me to get my hair cut. And the barber says, we don't cut girls' hair. I said, I'm not a girl. So, and then in school in London, that's where I grew up. My dad lived there. He went there before World War II. The teachers couldn't say my name. So they said, choose a Christian name. And that day in class, because they taught actually Bible classes from the Old Testament, New Testament, every day we had a full service, prayers and everything. And that day we did a lesson about a brave Jewish boy named David who killed a giant. So I said, you can call me David. So that's why people know me as David as well.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
So anyway, I had exposure to Christianity first time from school. And then I was a little confused. Who is this Jesus? We got our gurus. Who's true? I was only about 5.5, 6. And I was asking those questions. I wanted God to do a miracle to show me. And, you know. But eventually, to cut a long story short, because the testimony would take quite a bit of time, how I became a believer. I had exposure to Christianity, and as a teenager, I got exposed to a Christian cult based here in Pasadena called the Worldwide Church of God, which is apparently the only cult in history that has actually become orthodox again, I hear. And as a result of that, I was a teenager. I thought the world was going to end in 1975, and it was 1968. And I had an acute depression, and I collapsed. I had to go on sedatives, etc., and antidepressants. And I decided, I'm going to throw away the Bible. I'm going to throw away the concordance. I don't want anything to do with this religion of fear. But like I said, the hound of heaven didn't give up. Then I go to college, and my philosophy was eat, drink, and be merry. Man is the measure. Man can do anything. Man just landed on the moon at that time, and I thought, you know, anything is possible. And then I go into my family business after I graduate. I'm very successful. And then my dad dies. And I start asking questions, you know, what is the meaning of life? What happens after death? So I look into Hinduism. I don't like that because I do not like idolatry, because I knew what happened to the Jews when they constantly went into idolatry according to the Old Testament and how God punished them. And then I got mixed up in a Sai Baba cult, but eventually I just decided all of this is false. I'd just be a cultural Sikh, a born a Sikh, I'll die a Sikh. And then one day in 1984, May, I have a dream. I'm stuck in a maze. The walls are huge. I can just, it's a narrow openings. I'm walking around and around in the maze and I can't get out all day. And towards dusk, I see some light. So I walk out and there's a huge billboard, nothing else. A huge billboard, and it had 3 letters on it, USA. And I told my wife, I said, I had this dream. And I always wanted to come to USA. She said, well, why don't you go and check it out? So 2 weeks later, I was here. And then I called my wife. I saw a lawyer. I said, how can I come here? He said, buy a business, get a business visa. And that's exactly what I did. And then eventually, you know, you get a green card. So I thought, let's go for it. So I come here, buy a business, and then somebody leaves a book in the restaurant. I don't know who it is until today. Maybe in heaven I'll know. The book was by Hal Lindsey, This Late Great Planet Earth, which straightened out all my bad eschatology at the end of the world. But I do know what brainwashing is, because some people accuse me, Sikhs will accuse, oh, you've been brainwashed by the Sikhs. No, I mean the Christians. No, I haven't. I know what brainwashing is, and I know it's 100 times harder to get rid of brainwashing than to, soak it up. So that's why the Lord brought me here. He brought me here, and eventually I went to Grace Community Church, best teaching in the world, John MacArthur. Got good theology training, and then at Biola in apologetics. And I haven't looked back. And then the Lord says, you and your household will be saved. And my wife, and my son, my daughters, my granddaughter, and my mum before she died. So that's... And the reason I became a Christian is because I looked at the evidence for the resurrection. And I was cornered. God, I surrender. You did rise from the dead. Therefore, you are who you are. Therefore, everything you said is true. And the rest is history. I haven't looked back. And
so now you said the resurrection. Now, would you say that would be a really good approach, since that's something that worked with you? Or would that be a good approach to take to a Sikh? Maybe you're talking to him on the streets or something.
I think because I was more intellectual, and most Sikhs are touched by the love of Christians and caring, especially a lot of the women, when they go through problems or their family problems and things like that. So I think the first thing is to establish relationship and love, and then you can tell about Jesus.
Yeah,
and show how he is far superior than the gurus.
Yeah, I think that's really good. You talked about asking the questions, and I think that's really good. Some people got the Socratic method, right? Or I think Greg Kokel likes to call it the Columbo.
Columbo tactic.
Columbo tactic, But maybe we got probably about 7 minutes here. But maybe go through some of the questions that would be good to ask if you were talking with a Sikh. Because I think a lot of people would love to know that.
Yeah, I think the most important question to ask them, and to get them to admit, is that their gurus were sinners, because they perceive them as divine, which is totally false. Because the 10th guru, in fact, emphatically says, whoever calls me God will go to the deepest hell. And that is very important, because the gurus, each one of them, stated in their scriptures that they were sinners. And most Sikhs do not know that.
Wow.
Because they won't preach on those points. In fact, the first guru said, God, show your mercy and grace. My sins are as deep as the ocean and recurring like the waves. Take this sinking stone across this ocean. Very powerful. Every single one of them, all the authors virtually admit they're sinners, which is wonderful. And that's one thing you need to ask them. The other thing is, when the first guru was asked, who is your guru? He said, the word is my guru. You can take them to John 1:1. And then when the 10th guru was asked who his guru is, he said, the beginning, the end, the one and only incarnation is my guru. So there's powerful points of contact where you can lead them to Jesus.
I like that. That's really good. Now, since we got about 5 minutes left, I'd love, since you have a book coming out, so you got to be pouring your heart into it.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Maybe let people know, hey, maybe you have, is it something that if I have no clue what a guru is, I have no idea what a Sikh is it something that you could get your hands on and be like, wait, I could do this, I could go share the gospel, or something more academic?
It is something where if you read it, you will know more about Sikhism than a Sikh.
All right, that's good.
And from their primary source, the scriptures. And the book actually, all of their scriptures are quoted in their original language, transliteration, and then the English translation. The Bible verses are in their language and also English. So you can ask them to read it themselves in their own language. Basically, it presents the gospel. Both religions agree God is holy. Both agree man is a sinner. What is the solution? You know, they say it's reincarnation. Then I go into refuting that. Okay. The ultimate thing is, what is faith? You know? And I challenge them at the end. Now that you know all this about your gurus and about Jesus, who are you going to choose? That's the question. I am working on my website, which is going to, actually I have it set up. I haven't put any content on yet. It's called truthseekers.com. Except Seekers is not S-E-E-K, it's S-I-K-H-E-R, truthseekers.com.
I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited, and I'm so excited to have Jasvir Basi. I'm going to get that name down 100% so I don't forget. I'm excited that he's been able to share with us today on the Good Fight Radio Show regarding this, because it's something that hopefully for you guys who have never ever heard of Sikhism, or you've never heard of gurus or anything, what a great opportunity to not only hear about this, get some good ideas. Maybe it's your local neighbor, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a coworker that you can go and share with, but also, guys, pick up that book, pick it up, and when it comes out, make sure you get down that website as well. Hopefully we'll put it on the link below as well, and check it out, and you guys will be so blessed. Thank you guys so much for joining the Good Fight Radio Show.
You've been listening to the Good Fight Radio Show, brought to you by Good Fight Ministries. If you're blessed by this show and would like to partner with us, please consider visiting our Patreon page at patreon.com/goodfight. Or you can write to us at P.O. Box 2202, Simi Valley, California, 93062. Or call us toll-free at 1-866-JC-TRUTH. That's 1-866-528-7884. We hope you'll tune in next time on the Good Fight Radio Show.